If the state had its way, it would fail 6 school districts suing over universal preschool. Students are getting additional training in the purpose of Safe to Tell. Now that anonymous tip line for students to report threats or concerns is seeing a spike in use. Our good news to end this week?
I have the utmost faith in him. He really is an exceptional student, an exceptional young man, and he's going to do really great.
What would you do as principal for a day? And I have some thoughts on being clear and absolute against hate. This is next. In a request to dismiss the lawsuit challenging universal preschool, the state of Colorado is trying to take school districts to school. 6 school districts are part of a lawsuit challenging several parts of universal preschool, and the state argues that schools, they might need a lesson in law. Preschool will still be open and paid for by the state, regardless of the outcome of a lawsuit against Colorado's new universal preschool. 6 school districts and the Association of School Executives have sued the state. They want a Denver district judge to give the districts direct control of enrollment, and they want to force the state to pay for full-day preschool to families who thought they had it until they were told they didn't just before school started. The state has graded that lawsuit an F and has asked the judge to dismiss it. In a 36-page motion, the state argues that those suing have had and continue to have sufficient opportunities to shape the state's policy-making choices. That their preferences have not been universally adopted is not an injury sufficient to bring the case to court. Part of the lawsuit claims school districts can be sued by parents if the state does not match children with special needs to a preschool that can handle those special needs. The state argues that parents should be checking with their district to make sure their child's placement matches that student's needs, though the state is in charge of matching students, not the district. One of the other parts of the lawsuit is on behalf of parents who thought they were getting 30 hours, full-day preschool, paid for by the state.
Parents were told if they have at-risk factors, they would qualify for up to 30 hours, which for our district would be most of our students.
Families in Superintendent Wendy Burhansel's school district in Colorado Springs were among the 9,100 who found out just before school started that they only qualified for half-day funding because there wasn't enough money for every student with certain risk factors. The state argues in the lawsuit the 30 hours per week aspiration was always subject to available appropriations. The state is accurate, and we've previously reported that the subject to available appropriations was on page 175 of a 438-page bill. Several parents who felt duped have told me they did not see that language front and center when applying for universal preschool. Several school districts, Aurora, Adams 12, and Jefferson County, covered the cost of full day for those districts' families that were told last minute the state would only pay for half. Those districts are covering the payments for the second half of the day. The Aurora Police Department has fired the officer convicted yesterday in connection with the death of Elijah McClain. A jury found Randy Rodema guilty of criminally negligent homicide and third-degree assault. Aurora police previously suspended him. He was fired following his conviction. A spokesman for the city told us the city charter requires any member of the civil service to be discharged following a felony conviction. Rodema will be sentenced in January. He faces up to 6 years on the more serious charge if a judge finds special aggravating factors. The jury acquitted Jason Rosenblatt yesterday. Aurora police had fired him back in 2020. 3 officers sent him a photo where they posed in a chokehold at the McClain Memorial. Rosenblatt responded, "Ha ha." He is eligible to become a police officer again in a different department, but he would have to renew his policing certification. And jury selection began today in the trial of a third officer charged in connection with McClain's death. Nathan Woodyard is the first officer who responded the night police stopped McClain. He is the officer who put McClain in a neck hold that rendered him unconscious. He faces one charge, reckless manslaughter. Strike another strike. Unions representing thousands of Kaiser Permanente employees, including 3,000 in Colorado, say they've reached a tentative deal. The union representing Colorado workers say the deal includes a 21% wage increase over 4 years, as well as protections against outsourcing jobs. Union members will get to vote perhaps next week. On Monday, union reps said they had put Kaiser on notice that a second strike could occur if a deal was not reached by November. Last week, workers walked off the job for 3 days. An anonymous hotline for students. It's been around for years, but now Safe to Tell is getting tips more than ever. And the number one issue kids are calling about has changed. Here's Angeline McCall.
Being a kid in school can be hard. It's even more difficult if you're facing personal challenges.
The sad and painful reality for me as a parent for what I see as Attorney General is it's harder to be a young person than ever before. The youth mental health challenges and the environment we're living in is really hard.
Attorney General Phil Weiser and his team run Safe to Tell, a tip line for students to anonymously make reports about safety concerns.
In September, we got over 2,700 reports. That includes students who are thinking about suicide. It includes self-harm. It includes students who are being bullied.
From this time last year, reports are up 35%, a change the AG attributes to more training sessions with students about the tool and how to use it.
On a week-to-week basis, we're out there all across Colorado, building connections, sharing information.
One of the changes new this year, increased reports about bullying, making it the top concern kids are talking about.
Historically, that number one threat has been suicide. I'm not sure yet what to make of this difference with bullying as number one. Unfortunately, kids who are bullied are often some of the same kids who are thinking about taking their life. So whether it's being bullied or thinking about suicide, it is a call for help.
Weiser hopes students continue using the tool at higher rates, especially in moments when it matters.
The whole point of Safe to Tell is to create a culture where information that can be life-saving will be shared, and we're in a position to prevent tragedy before it strikes.
That was Angeline McCall. Safe to Tell was created after Columbine. The phone number is 877-542-7233. It's 542-SAFE. Or safe, the number 2, tell.org. OG Next fans will remember we used to keep a daily tally of whether or not RTD's reliably unreliable A-line was running. Now we're tracking an institution that appears to be perhaps even more broken. Let's roll that graphic. Is there a new House Speaker today? Nope. And the new frontrunner to become Speaker does not have the support of Colorado Congressman Ken Buck. Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan is on the clock. After the first choice by Republicans, Louisiana Congressman Steve Scalise dropped out when it became clear he was not going to get the number of votes needed. It's not clear Jordan will either. So the House decided to push off a floor vote until next week. No rush, guys, really. Once again, Colorado Republicans are not on the same page. Congresswoman Lauren Boebert has been on Team Jordan since former Speaker Kevin McCarthy was removed, but Buck's office tells us he's a no because of Jordan's plans to cut Ukraine funding as well as his continued insistence that the 2020 election was stolen. A rare apology and admission of being wronged by a politician. Democratic State Representative Tim Hernandez today apologized for social media likes that appeared to support the Hamas attack on Israel as an act of resistance and for not explicitly condemning the violence.
People who are harmed and suffering deserve our respect, and I have to apologize for the way that I caused harm in community by not making that explicitly clear. While I know a statement by itself can't undo the harm and hurt that I caused, I'm committed to engaging.
There should be no wavering, no doubt whatsoever, that when women are raped and murdered and babies are slaughtered, that is disgusting, that is wrong. Democratic State Representative Tim Hernandez acknowledges that today. Prior to the apology, he drew criticism from Jewish Democratic State Senator Daphne Michelson-Janay for his social media likes and his attendance at this rally at the state capitol in support of Palestinian resistance in Gaza, which took place on the same day as the attack. State House Republicans and the chair of the Colorado Republican Party, Dave Williams, want Hernandez expelled from the legislature. Let me find here in my notes the outcry from Williams and House Republicans any of the times conservative podcaster Joe Oltmann said Colorado Democratic elected leaders are treasonous who should be hung because the penalty for treason is death. I think I have it here somewhere, right next to their condemnation of former President Trump, who on Wednesday called Hezbollah smart. Hezbollah is another terrorist organization to the north of Israel, separate from Hamas. You know what? I must have misplaced it. In fact, Williams himself called Colorado Republicans treasonous when they filed a lawsuit to keep Trump off the ballot in Colorado next year. Should a state representative like Tim Hernandez be absolute in their disgust of the rape, murder, and kidnapping of innocent people? Yes. Should we be equal in our outrage, like when treason and death are just thrown about flippantly? I would hope so. Colorado has a rare front row seat to a solar eclipse tomorrow, but for the southwestern part of the state, the phenomenon is old news, like 900 years old. A Broomfield student is celebrating a short-lived promotion. He's principal for a day, which is good news for anyone who wants recess for every class and pizza and candy at lunch. And an opportunity to help strengthen a community on the verge of some major changes. That's next. Tomorrow morning, Coloradans will get to see something rare, a ring of fire eclipse when the moon passes directly in front of the sun. The eclipse will happen right over the Mesa Verde area, just as it may have done more than 900 years ago. Let's look at a drawing carved into the rocks at Chaco Canyon, just south of Mesa Verde National Park. It was likely drawn around the year 1097, when historians believe there was likely a total solar eclipse. We don't know how the ancestral Puebloans reacted to the eclipse, other than noting its rarity with petroglyphs. But even today, the eclipse holds significance in some cultures. Tomorrow morning's eclipse will also travel over the ancestral Navajo lands in the American Southwest, where some tribes still today do not encourage eclipse viewing.
There are cultural sensitivities that this is not a positive thing, right? If the sun, which is the giver of life, is being destroyed by the moon, that's actually kind of like, let's focus a little bit more here and be reflective and prayerful and mindful.
If you're planning to catch a glimpse of the eclipse, which you can see in the Denver metro area, it should be visible across Colorado, but the totality is by the Mesa Verde area. Just be sure to get some eye protection like eclipse glasses. I'll warn you, the ones we handed out probably like 5 or 6 years ago, those orange ones, don't use them. They expire, and don't directly look at the sun. Lauren, this is when you're going to tell us it's going to be cloudy and tough luck. Right?
Actually, no. Tomorrow we have a sunny day in store, so things are lining up as far as our local sky cover for the eclipse. Now, the eclipse exactly lining up over the Front Range, not exactly. We're going to see that a bit further southwest, but at least the sky cover will be cooperating. Today we saw a chilly afternoon out there. 55 was our high today in Denver. That's about 11 degrees cooler than our seasonal high for this time of year. Northern portions of the Front Range and Eastern Plains stayed in the lower to middle 50s. We saw some 60s to the southeast here, 40s and 50s this afternoon in the high country, low 60s out west. As you take a look at our current conditions, we have some some sunshine out there, a little bit of cloud cover, 48 degrees at DIA, winds coming in from the northeast at around 13 miles per hour. But you can see we don't have much in the sky over our HD Doppler radar, and that's going to lead us to widespread freeze overnight. So the entire Front Range and Eastern Plains will be under this freeze warning, and this does include Denver and the I-25 corridor. This also includes the far northwestern corner of Colorado, as well as some areas in river basins along the I-70 corridor here. That's going to include Edwards, Eagle, down to Glenwood Springs, and then even further south into Carbondale. So we're going to watch for these temperatures to drop into the 20s overnight. A reminder to bring those plants inside. Maybe you take care of your watering systems, your pets. Overnight, we're going to see lows near 31 degrees in Denver. And then tomorrow, we're going to see these temperatures slowly start to climb into the middle to upper 50s. And then we continue to climb as we go into next week. We're in the 80s by next Tuesday.
Good thing that sun is first, then the cloud in that little graphic. We want to say a quick thank you for all you've done this week to support a Southwest Denver community going through some big changes. Here's Kyle with an update on this week's Word of Thanks.
Thank you for spending time with Next while I'm away, and thank you for your support of Commune, the nonprofit that is feeding neighbors and building community in Southwest Denver. You might have heard they're involved in a big community center project on the Loretto Heights campus that's going to be a few years in the making, but right now what they're doing is the subject of this week's Word of Thanks microgiving campaign. Each week, they are feeding hundreds of families in Southwest Denver, and more than that, they're convening community meals where volunteers and recipients have the opportunity to break bread together. And this is how they are building community even before they have a brick and mortar community center. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word thanks to 303-871-1491 to get the link to join me and a bunch of other Coloradans in donating to benefit Commune, an organization that is feeding their neighbors and building community in Denver.
Today it's very important because I get to be principal for the day.
A promotion is good news at any age, but the leap from student to principal? Hang on, that sounds like a Saved by the Bell episode. And History Colorado's got a collection of so-called murder scrapbooks just lying around, and they're looking for help bringing Denver's earliest case files up to date. That's next. It's Friday night. That's Dateline night, so we know the true crime fans are watching. Want to help Colorado sift through the earliest cases? History Colorado could use your help. They're looking for volunteers to help transcribe what they're calling murder scrapbooks. we might need a better name for that, a collection of case files from Denver's earliest detective. There are 70 ledgers tracking murder cases across Colorado and the West from the 1860s through the early 1900s. History Colorado wants to make these records digitally accessible to be useful for everything from national criminal justice studies to genealogical records. I thought I saw Alfred Packard in one of those. Volunteers can sign up through History Colorado's website, and it's not just this project. History Colorado started a digital volunteer program during the pandemic, and they're looking for online volunteers to help digitize all kinds of historical documents. It's all right, 'cause I'm safe. Oh, wait, I won't sing. For the past 351 Fridays, we've ended the week by sharing your good news. And this week, it's a good old-fashioned job swap.
To be able to step down for a day. I'm turning over the role of principal to an outstanding student, Mr. Raymond Bonanno.
Our good news is that we have a student principal for the day who's going to bring a fresh vision, a lot of youthful energy, and a really passion to our education that's going to serve all of our students and families really well.
I'm excited that I get to kind of just skip class all day pretty much and not do school, but I'm also excited that I get to put an impact on the community of this school. I'm Raymond Bonanno. I'm in 8th grade. I go to Nativity Faith and Reason in Broomfield, Colorado. Usually when I go to school, I'm just a student, but today it's very important because I get to be principal for the day. Mr. Calvino is typically principal. He does a really good job of being principal.
My name is Sebastian Calvino. I'm the principal here at Nativity. I always thought that one of my advantages was being a younger principal. Just having someone who's really at their level, I think is really helpful for them to be able to connect with the principal and get behind the leadership initiatives that he has.
You guys are switching jobs for the day. Would you rather switch jobs or switch hairdos for the day?
Jobs.
Personally, I'd rather switch the hairdos. I think it would be fun for one day.
Well, my good news is I'm very glad to be at this school, and I'm just very glad for all my friends and very glad that I'm principal for the day. I'll gain more friends from this and get to know people from younger grades that I never did. So that might impact them, and they might look up to me after this.
I'll take his business any day. The party, he can keep that. The school auctions off principal for a day as part of its annual fundraising efforts, and the money goes towards safety improvements, increasing teacher pay, and improved technology at the school. Hang on. So he or his parents had to pay for that opportunity. That's not how jobs work. We got to get some money going the other way. That's my feedback. Business, no party, and you get paid for your job, too. And this feedback. Thanks, Aaron. A Broncos display without any signs of life is the most Colorado thing we've seen today, and it's not any part of any game. Henry snapped this shot of a Halloween display in Park Hill just 6 games in, and it looks like somebody's ready to lay this Broncos season to rest. So many puns, so many jokes to be made. I know it's in the prompter. I'm supposed to say something about T Swift, and I just don't know that I want to do it. If you see something that feels like Colorado to you, email me at next@9news.com. Use the hashtag HeyNext. Brenda writes in to this exact thing. Diehard fan. Thank you, Brenda. Ross writes in about the commentary on equal in hate. Thank you for throwing the penalty flag on hyperbolic hypocrisy. Wid says Hernandez, should be asked to step down. His views are repugnant. Wid, I want you to be clear. He has apologized and had conversations with people and now has a new realization. Should you be able to have an apology and move forward?